Commander Tejo stared at the display screen with growing confusion. The energy readings made no sense at all. His ship's computers kept showing error messages, and the scanners seemed to be breaking down one by one. "Sir, we're getting some very strange signals from Sector 7, reported Lieutenant Dal Su from his station. The young officer's voice carried a note of worry that Tejo had rarely heard before. Tejo walked over to look at the readings himself. In his 20 years of commanding ships for the Keltharian fleet, he had never seen anything like this. The energy signature appeared to be coming from something massive, but their long-range scanners couldn't get a clear picture of what it was. "Could it be a space storm?" asked Dal Su, checking his instruments again. "No," Tejo replied slowly. "Space storms don't move in straight lines like this, and they don't give off this kind of energy pattern." Dr. Yun-Bi looked up from her research station in the corner of the bridge. She was a Zephyrian scientist who studied old alien artifacts and ruins. Her blue skin had gone pale, and her large eyes were wide with something that looked like fear. "Commander," she said quietly, "may I see those readings?" Tejo nodded and transferred the data to her screen. Dr. Yunbi studied the information for several long minutes. Her breathing became faster and her hands started to shake slightly. "This is impossible," she whispered. "What's impossible?" Tejo asked, moving closer to her station. "These energy patterns, I've seen something like them before. In the old archives, the forbidden ones." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone knew about the forbidden archives. They contained information about the extinct humans and their dangerous technology. The Galactic Council had banned all research into human artifacts after the Great Purge 200 years ago. "You're saying this might be human technology?" Tejo asked carefully. "I don't know," Dr. Yunbi replied. "But the energy signature has similarities to some of the fragments we found on the old human worlds. Before the Council ordered them all destroyed, Lieutenant Dal Su's scanner started beeping loudly. "Sir, something's approaching us. Fast!" Tejo rushed back to the main display. A shape was moving toward them through space, but it didn't look like any ship he had ever seen. It seemed to be changing as it moved, like it was alive somehow. "All stop," Tejo ordered. "Raise shields and charge weapons, but don't fire unless I give the order." The strange ship came closer, and now they could see it more clearly. It was about the same size as their own vessel, but its hull seemed to be made of materials that shifted and flowed like liquid metal. Parts of it glowed with a soft blue light, and other sections appeared to be covered in what looked like organic tissue. "Sir," Dal Su said in a shaky voice, "our weapon systems just went offline." "What? How?" "I don't know. They just stopped working. All of them." Dr. Yunbi was studying her screen intently. "Commander, this ship, it's not just made of unknown materials. It's actively scanning us. I can see the probe beams, but our shields aren't stopping them at all." The alien ship stopped about a kilometer away from them. For a moment, nothing happened. Then their communications system crackled to life. The voice that came through the speakers was speaking in a language that none of them recognized at first. It sounded rough and harsh, but there was something familiar about it. Dr. Yunbi suddenly stood up from her chair. "It's speaking Old Terran," she said in amazement. "The ancient human language. What's it saying?" Tejo demanded. Dr. Yunbi listened carefully, her face growing more pale by the second. "It says, 'I am the last guardian of the promise we made to ourselves. I have been waiting for someone to find me.'" The message repeated several times, then stopped. The strange ship just sat there in space, waiting. "Guardian of what promise?" Lieutenant Dalsu asked nervously. I don't know, Dr. Yunbi replied. But if this is really human technology, then we have a serious problem. Humans have been extinct for over 200 years. There shouldn't be any of their ships left, especially not one like this. Tejo made a decision. Open a channel. Let's try to talk to whoever's on that ship. Sir, are you sure that's wise? Dalsu asked. If this really is human technology, the Council will want to know about it immediately. The Council will want to destroy it immediately, Tejo corrected. Just like they destroyed everything else the humans left behind. But first, I want to know what we're dealing with. The communication channel opened, and Tejo spoke slowly and clearly. Unknown vessel, this is Commander Tejo of the Keltharian Fleet. Please identify yourself. For a long moment, there was no response. Then the speakers crackled again, and this time, the voice spoke in perfect galactic standard. My name is Wu Jin. I am the captain of the ship Resilience, and according to your records, I died 231 years ago. The bridge fell completely silent. Dr. Yunbi dropped the data pad she was holding, and it clattered loudly on the floor. That's impossible, Tejo said finally. Humans can't live that long, and besides, all humans were killed during the Great Purge. All humans were supposed to be killed, the voice replied calmly. But I made a promise to my people before they died. I promised that humanity would survive, no matter what it cost. I have been keeping that promise ever since. What kind of promise? Dr. Yunbi asked, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. The promise to remember. The promise to endure. The promise to return when the galaxy was ready to learn what we discovered. What did you discover? Tejo found himself asking, even though he knew he probably didn't want to know the answer. We discovered that death is not the end, Wu Jin replied. We discovered that life can take forms that no one in the galaxy imagined possible. And we discovered that some knowledge is too important to let die with those who found it. The strange ship began to move again, but this time it wasn't approaching them. Instead, it started to turn away, as if preparing to leave. Wait, Tejo called out. Where are you going? To fulfill my promise, Wu Jin replied. The galaxy is about to learn that the human extinction was not as complete as everyone believed, and you, Commander Tejo, are going to be the first witnesses to what we became in order to survive. The ship called Resilience disappeared in a flash of blue light, leaving Tejo and his crew staring at empty space. Their instruments slowly came back online, and their weapon systems began working. Again, sir, Dalsu said quietly. What do we do now? Tejo looked at the spot where the impossible ship had been. He thought about the voice of a man who claimed to be over 200 years old. He thought about the ship that seemed to be alive. And he thought about the promise of knowledge that someone had died to protect. We follow it, he said finally. Whatever that ship is, wherever it's going, we need to see what happens next. Because I have a feeling that everything we thought we knew about the galaxy is about to change. Captain Wu Jin felt the familiar tingle as he awakened from the deep sleep that had kept him alive for over 2 centuries. His body moved smoothly as he sat up in the biopod, showing none of the stiffness that should have come from such a long rest. The walls of his ship pulsed gently with blue light, responding to his awakening. Resilience was more than just a machine. She was his partner, his home, and in many ways, his only family left in the universe. Good morning, old friend, he said softly. placing his hand on the warm, living metal of the nearest wall. The ship responded with a gentle vibration that he felt through his bones. It was her way of saying hello. Wu Jin walked to the bridge, his bare feet making no sound on the organic floor. The ship had been growing and changing while he slept, adapting to new situations and learning from every encounter. When he reached the command center, he could see that she had been busy. New displays showed information about the Keltharian ship that had found them. Resilience had scanned their technology, their crew, and even their recent communications. She was always protective of him, always gathering information to keep him safe. "They're following us," he said, reading the data. "Just as I hoped they would." Wu Jin remembered the last days of humanity with perfect clarity. The memory was both a gift and a curse from his transformation. He could recall every face of his dying people, every word of their final conversations, every moment of their desperate search for a way to survive. The Galactic Council had declared humanity too dangerous to exist. Human curiosity and adaptability threatened the careful balance of power that kept the older races in control. The official reason for the Great Purge was human aggression, but Wu Jin knew the truth. Humanity had found something in the ancient ruins that terrified the Council. They had discovered that life could evolve beyond its original form. They had learned that consciousness could exist without flesh, that organic beings could merge with technology, and that death itself might not be final. Admiral Kyung-soo of the Council fleet had been the one to carry out the final attack on Earth. But Wu Jin remembered something that the official records didn't mention. The Admiral had hesitated. In those last moments, Kyung-soo had given the human evacuation ships just enough time to escape. Most of those ships had been destroyed, but not all. Some had made it to hidden colonies in the far reaches of space. Others had found refuge with alien species who were sympathetic to humanity's fate. And a few, like Wu Jin himself, had undergone the transformation that made survival possible. The process had been painful beyond description. Human scientists had worked with alien biotechnology and ancient artifacts to create something new. Wu Jin's body had been changed at the cellular level, merged with adaptive organisms that could repair damage, resist radiation, and even survive in the vacuum of space. His ship had undergone a similar transformation. Resilience was built around a living core taken from the ruins of an ancient civilization. The core could learn, grow, and adapt to any situation. Combined with human engineering and desperate innovation, it had become something unique in the galaxy. Engineer So Young of the Keltharian ship was studying the scans of Resilience with growing amazement. Wu Jin could see her through his ship's sensors, watching as she tried to understand technology that shouldn't exist. "She's brilliant," he said to himself. "She almost understands what she's looking at." Resilience showed him more data about the pursuing ship. The crew was curious rather than hostile, which was exactly what he had hoped for. Commander Tae-ho seemed to be a good man, willing to learn rather than simply follow orders. Wu Jin activated one of Resilience's special systems. Deep in the ship's core, a fragment of artificial intelligence came online. It had once been part of a vast network that connected all of humanity's colonies. Now, it was the only piece that remained. "Hello, Hae-won," Wu Jin said to the AI fragment. "Hello, Captain," the AI replied in a voice that sounded almost human. "Are you ready to begin?" "Yes. It's time to start waking them up." Hae-won had been monitoring hidden human settlements across the galaxy for over 200 years. Most people believed that all humans had died during the Great Purge, but the truth was more complex. Small groups had survived in secret, adapting to their new circumstances in different ways. Some colonies had gone underground, literally hiding beneath the surface of dead worlds. Others had merged with alien ecosystems, becoming something that was part human and part alien. A few had even learned to exist as pure energy, living in the space between stars. "The first signal is ready to transmit," Haiwan reported. "Colony 7 on the edge of Vorthak space has been waiting for the all-clear signal." "Send it," Wu Jin commanded. Across space, hidden transmitters began broadcasting coordinates and activation codes. After 2 centuries of silence, the scattered remnants of humanity were finally hearing from their long-lost home ship. Meanwhile, Admiral Kyung-soo was receiving reports of strange energy signatures across multiple sectors. His staff was confused by the readings, but the Admiral knew exactly what they meant. The humans were coming out of hiding. He had known this day would come eventually. The Council had believed their lie about complete human extinction, but Kyung-soo had never forgotten the ships that had escaped. He had spent the last 2 centuries secretly protecting human survivors, always careful to avoid detection by his own government. Now he would have to make a choice. He could report the human activity to the Council and watch as they ordered another purge. Or he could find a way to protect the surviving humans while revealing the truth about what had really happened 200 years ago. Back on Resilience, Wu Jin was preparing for the next phase of his plan. The ship began to change shape, growing new sections and reconfiguring existing ones. The living metal flowed like water, forming new chambers and corridors. "What are you building?" Wu Jin asked. "Diplomatic facilities," Resilience replied through their mental link. "We will need space for visitors soon." Wu Jin smiled. His ship was always thinking ahead, always preparing for situations that hadn't happened yet. It was one of the advantages of having a living vessel that could learn and adapt. The Keltharian ship was still following them, maintaining a safe distance but showing no signs of giving up. Wu Jin decided it was time for the next step in his plan. He opened a communication channel to Commander Taeho's ship. "Commander, I know you have questions about what you've seen. I'm prepared to provide some answers. But first, I need to know something. Are you willing to see the truth, even if it changes everything you believe about the galaxy?" There was a long pause before Taeho replied. "What kind of truth?" "The truth about what really happened to humanity. The truth about what we discovered in the ancient ruins. And the truth about what we became in order to survive." "And if I'm not ready for that truth?" "Then you should turn around and go home. Now," Wu Jin said seriously, "because once you see what I'm about to show you, there will be no going back. You'll become part of something larger than yourself, larger than any single species or government." Another pause. Then Taeho's voice came back, steady and determined. "Show me." Wu Jin smiled. The first step of his long plan was complete. Soon, the galaxy would learn that humanity's greatest achievement wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their refusal to give up, even when giving up seemed like the only option left. "Follow me, Commander. We're going to visit some old friends who are very eager to meet you." The coordinates led them to a dead system on the very edge of known space. 3 burned-out planets circled a dying red star, and space debris floated everywhere like the bones of an ancient battlefield. Commander Taeho stared at the readings on his screen. "There's nothing here, Captain Wu Jin. Just empty space and dead worlds." "Look closer," came the reply from the strange ship ahead of them. Use your deep-range scanners on the third planet. Dr. Yunbi worked at her station, adjusting the scanner settings. Suddenly, she gasped. Commander, there's something down there. Something big, hidden beneath the surface. Before Tae-ho could respond, the space around them began to shimmer. Shapes appeared out of nowhere, as if someone had turned off an invisible shield. Ships emerged from hiding, dozens of them, all with the same organic design as Wu Jin's vessel. Welcome to Colony 7, Wu Jin's voice said calmly. The first of many, places that officially don't exist. Captain Hyun-woo of the Vorthak Empire was studying similar reports in his command center, thousands of light years away. His people had been the ones to carry out most of the actual killing during the Great Purge, following orders from the Galactic Council. Now his sensors were picking up human energy signatures across multiple sectors, ships that looked like nothing in any database, settlements that appeared out of nowhere after 2 centuries of empty space. Sir, his communications officer said nervously, we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from the old human home system. That's impossible, Hyun-woo replied. We destroyed everything in that system ourselves. There's nothing left there. Yes, sir, but the signal is definitely coming from Earth's coordinates. Hyun-woo had been just a young soldier during the Great Purge. He had believed the official story about human aggression and the need to eliminate them for galactic peace. But over the years, he had started to have doubts about what really happened. Put the transmission on screen, he ordered. The image that appeared was of a human woman with kind eyes and graying hair. She looked tired but determined, standing in what appeared to be a vast underground chamber filled with growing things. My name is Dr. Minseo, she said in perfect Vorthak. I am the director of Earth Reclamation Project Alpha. We have been waiting a very long time to make contact with the outside galaxy again. Hyun-woo's blood ran cold. Earth Reclamation Project? But Earth was completely destroyed. We made sure of that. You destroyed the surface, Dr. Minseo continued, as if she could hear his thoughts. But humans are very good at adapting to difficult situations. We went underground. We went deep. And we kept working. Back at Colony 7, Wu Jin was leading Commander Tae-ho and his crew on a tour that would change their understanding of everything. The underground city was enormous, carved out of solid rock and filled with gardens that glowed with their own light. But the people living there were not quite human anymore. They had adapted to their underground environment, developing larger eyes for the dim light and stronger bones for the heavy gravity. This is what survival looks like when you have no other choice, Wu Jin explained as they walked through the growing chambers. These people have been living underground for over 200 years. Their children have never seen real sunlight. Dr. Yunbi was recording everything with her scientific instruments. How did they manage to build all this without being detected? The same way we managed to survive the Great Purge, replied a woman who approached them. She introduced herself as Director Su Jin, the leader of Colony 7. We learned to become invisible. Director Su Jin was clearly human in origin, but her skin had a gray tint and her eyes were much larger than normal. When she spoke, her voice had an unusual echo, as if she was speaking from inside a cave. We developed technology that bends light around our settlements, she explained. We learned to mask our energy signatures, and most importantly, we learned to live without leaving traces that others could follow. Lieutenant Dal Su from Tai-Ho's crew was staring at everything in amazement. But why did you stay hidden for so long? The war has been over for 2 centuries. The war never ended, Director Sujin replied sadly. It just became a different kind of war. A war of survival and memory. She led them to a chamber filled with data crystals and holographic displays. We have been recording everything that happened to humanity. Every settlement that was destroyed, every ship that was lost, every person who died, someone had to remember. General Boram of the Keltharian military was receiving urgent reports from multiple sectors. Human settlements were appearing everywhere, broadcasting their locations openly for the first time in centuries. The general had been a young officer during the Great Purge, serving under Admiral Kyung-soo. She remembered the official briefings about human aggression and the threat they posed to galactic stability. But she also remembered the private conversations, the doubts that some officers had expressed about their orders. "Get me Admiral Kyung-soo," she ordered her aide. "We need to discuss what our response is going to be." When the Admiral appeared on her screen, he looked older and more tired than she remembered. "I've been expecting your call, General. I assume you're seeing the same. Reports that I am?" "Human settlements appearing all across the galaxy," Boram confirmed. "Ships that don't match any known technology. And signals coming from worlds that we thought were completely dead." "They were never dead," Admiral Kyung-soo said quietly. "We just told ourselves they were, because it was easier than admitting what we had really done." Boram felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean?" "I mean that the Great Purge was not the clean victory that history records. Many humans escaped, many more went into hiding, and some became something else entirely in order, to survive. On Colony 7, Wu Jin was showing the visitors something that made even Dr. Yunbi step backward in shock. In a special chamber deep underground, human consciousness existed without physical bodies, stored in crystalline matrices that pulsed with soft light. When our bodies became too damaged or too old to continue, we found ways to preserve what was most important, Wu Jin explained. Knowledge, memory, personality, the essence of who we were. "But that's impossible," Dr. Yunbi whispered. "Consciousness can't exist without a biological brain." "That's what everyone believed," Wu Jin agreed, "until we proved them wrong." 1. Of the crystals began to glow brighter, and a voice spoke from hidden speakers. "Welcome, visitors. My name was Dr. Jun-ho when I had a body. Now I am something more." Commander Taeho found his voice. "Are you saying that you're dead?" "I am saying that death is not what we thought it was," the crystal replied. "I am saying that consciousness can take many forms. And I am saying that humanity learned to survive by refusing to accept the limitations that others considered absolute." Director Sujin led them to another chamber where children played games that involved manipulating light and energy with their minds. "The younger generation is developing abilities that we never imagined possible. They can interface directly with our technology, communicate across vast distances, and even exist in multiple states of being simultaneously. This is just one colony," Wu Jin said as their tour came to an end. "There are dozens of others, each one adapted to different circumstances. Some humans learned to survive in the vacuum of space, others merged with alien ecosystems, and a few transcended physical existence entirely." Captain Hyun-woo was still staring at the transmission from Earth. Dr. Minseo was showing him images of vast underground complexes where humans continued their research into consciousness and existence. "Why are you showing me this?" he asked finally. "Because your people were the ones who drove us underground," Dr. Minseo replied. Because you have spent 2 centuries believing that you eliminated a threat to galactic peace. And because it's time for you to learn what we actually discovered that made the Council so afraid. What did you discover? We discovered that evolution doesn't stop. We discovered that consciousness is not limited to biological forms. And we discovered that the ancient ruins scattered across the galaxy contain knowledge that could transform every species in ways they never imagined. Hyun-woo realized that everything he had believed about the Great Purge was wrong. The humans hadn't been eliminated because they were aggressive. They had been targeted because they had found something that threatened the established order of the galaxy. What happens now? He asked. Now, Dr. Minseo said with a smile that was both kind and determined. The galaxy learns what we became while we were hiding, and everyone gets to choose what they want to become next. The transmission ended, leaving Captain Hyun-woo staring at a blank screen and wondering if his empire was ready for the truth about what they had really done 2 centuries ago. The Galactic Council chambers had not seen such chaos in over a century. Representatives from dozens of species shouted at each other while holographic displays showed the impossible truth. Humanity was not extinct. Ambassador Yu Jin materialized in the center of the chamber, her form shifting between solid and translucent as she stabilized her projection. She was human, but not in any way the council members recognized. Her consciousness existed across multiple artificial bodies, allowing her to be in several places at once. "Honored representatives," she said, her voice carrying clearly despite the noise. "I am here to discuss the future of galactic civilization." The Keltharian representative stood up angrily. "This is an outrage. Humans were declared extinct for good reason. They were too dangerous to be allowed to survive." "Dangerous to whom?" Yujin asked calmly. "To the people of the galaxy? Or to the power structures that keep certain species in control?" Meanwhile, on a research station hidden in an asteroid field, Dr. Jae-hyun was studying data that challenged everything his people understood about evolution and consciousness. He was a member of the Zephyrian species, the same as Dr. Yunbi, but his research had taken him far beyond traditional science. "The human adaptability is unlike anything we've ever seen," he reported to his colleagues via secure transmission. "They don't just survive in new environments. They transform themselves to become perfectly suited to those environments." The data he was reviewing came from dozens of human settlements that had revealed themselves over the past week. Each colony showed different adaptations, different solutions to the problem of survival in a hostile galaxy. On the ice world of Karanos, humans had developed thick fur and the ability to hibernate for months at a time. In the high radiation zones near dying stars, they had evolved cellular repair mechanisms that made them virtually immune to cancer, and in the gas giant atmospheres where normal life was impossible, they had learned to exist as organized energy, patterns. "They're not just surviving," Dr. Jae-hyun continued. "They're showing us new possibilities for what life can become." Commander Do-hyun was leading a meeting of resistance fighters on a hidden base deep in Vorthak space. She had been organizing secret cells of humans and human sympathizers for decades, always waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. "The time for hiding is over," she announced to the assembled group. "Captain Woo Jin has given us the signal. It's time to show the galaxy what we've really been doing all these years." The resistance wasn't just humans. Over the centuries, members of other species had joined their cause, horrified by the truth about the Great Purge. They had been secretly, protecting human survivors, sharing technology, and preparing for the day when humanity would return to galactic society. Remember, Do-hyun continued, we're not seeking revenge. We're offering transformation. Every species in this galaxy has the potential to evolve beyond their current limitations. We're just the first ones to prove it's possible. Back in the T council chambers, Ambassador Yu Jin was presenting evidence that made the assembled representatives very uncomfortable. Holographic records showed the real reasons behind the Great Purge, including classified communications between council leaders. You eliminated humanity because we discovered something in the ancient ruins, Yu Jin said, displaying images of archaeological sites across the galaxy. We found evidence that consciousness could exist in forms beyond biological life. We learned that evolution doesn't have to stop at the boundaries that each species considers normal. The Vorthak representative tried to interrupt. Those discoveries were deemed too dangerous for general knowledge. They could have destabilized the entire galactic community. Destabilized it or transformed it, Yu Jin replied. The knowledge we found could have helped every species transcend their limitations. Instead, you chose to destroy the messengers rather than hear the message. Scientist Jae-hyun was now studying reports from the human colony on Earth itself. Dr. Min Seo's underground civilization had been developing technology that could help other species undergo controlled evolution, adapting to new environments, without losing their essential nature. They've solved the fundamental problem of biological limitation, he reported excitedly. They can help a species adapt to any environment while maintaining their consciousness and identity. This could open up entire regions of space that were previously uninhabitable. The implications were staggering. With human guidance, the Keltharians could adapt to high-gravity worlds that were currently beyond their reach. The Zephyrians could explore the crushing depths of ocean worlds. Even the energy-based Lumari could potentially develop physical forms for environments where their natural state couldn't survive. On Colony 7, Commander Tae-ho was experiencing the transformation process firsthand. He had volunteered to undergo the same adaptation that had kept Wu Jin alive for over 2 centuries. It doesn't hurt, he said in amazement, as the bioorganic systems began integrating with his physiology. I can feel my body changing, but it's not painful. It's like finally becoming what I was meant to be. Dr. Yoon-bi was recording every detail of the process, her scientific mind racing with the possibilities. The symbiotic organisms are actually communicating with his cells, teaching them how to become more efficient. This isn't mutation, it's guided evolution. Wu Jin watched the process with satisfaction. Every human who underwent this transformation had to make the same choice that Commander Tae-ho is making now. We had to decide whether to remain what we were and die, or change into something new and live. But you're still human, Dr. Yoon-bi observed. Despite all the changes, despite the centuries that have passed, you're still recognizably human. That's the key, Wu Jin agreed. The transformation enhances what we are, it doesn't replace it. We become more human, not less. Back on the Vorthak homeworld, Captain Hyun-woo was meeting with military leaders who were struggling to understand what the human revelations meant for their empire. The Vorthak had built their identity around being the galaxy's strongest military force, but the humans were showing them new definitions of strength. They survived our best efforts to eliminate them, Admiral Kyung-soo pointed out during the meeting. They adapted, they evolved, and they continued to grow stronger while remaining hidden for 2 centuries. That kind of resilience is beyond anything we've ever seen. Are you suggesting we should fear them? asked General Boram. I'm suggesting we should learn from them, Kyung-Soo replied. They're offering to share their knowledge freely. They could help us become something greater than we currently are. The debate in the council chambers was reaching a critical point. Several species were expressing interest in the human offer of guided evolution, while others demanded that the humans be eliminated once and for all. Ambassador Yu Jin remained calm in the face of the hostility. We're not asking for your permission to exist, she said clearly. We're offering you a choice. You can try to destroy us again, and we will simply adapt to whatever you do to us. Or you can join us in exploring what all of our species could become together. And if we refuse? Asked the Keltharian representative. Then you remain as you are, Yujin replied, bounded by the limitations you've accepted as permanent, while we continue to evolve and grow and explore possibilities that you can't even imagine. Dr. Jae-hyun was now in direct communication with human research teams across the galaxy. They were sharing data about consciousness transfer, biological adaptation, and the ancient technologies that made it all possible. They're right, he reported to his government. The knowledge they've preserved could revolutionize our understanding of life itself. We could develop new forms of existence that combine the best aspects of biological and artificial intelligence. Commander, Do-hyun was coordinating with resistance cells across dozens of systems. The revelation of human survival had inspired many non-humans who had secretly opposed the Great Purge. They were coming forward now, offering to help build a new kind of galactic civilization. This is bigger than just human survival, she reported to the other resistance leaders. This is about creating a galaxy where every species can reach their full potential, where evolution and growth are celebrated instead of feared. The transformation of Commander Tae-ho was complete. He stood up from the biointegration chamber, his body still recognizably Keltharian, but now enhanced in ways that would allow him to survive in environments that would have killed him before. How do you feel? Dr. Yunbi asked. I feel more, Tae-ho replied, struggling to find words for the experience. More aware, more capable, more connected to everything around me, but still myself. Wu Jin smiled. That's exactly how it should feel. You haven't stopped being Keltharian. You've just become a Keltharian who can be more than your species ever thought possible. The vote in the Galactic Council was close, but the decision was made. Humanity would be allowed to return to galactic society, and their offer of guided evolution would be made available to any species that chose to accept it. It wasn't the end of the conflict, but it was the beginning of something new. For the first time in galactic history, the focus would be on growth and transformation, rather than maintaining the status quo and in the hidden chambers of ancient ruins across the galaxy. 5 years had passed since the day Commander Tae-ho first encountered the impossible ship called Resilience. Now he stood on the bridge of his own transformed vessel, watching as the galaxy continued to change in ways that no one had imagined possible. His ship was no longer purely Keltharian technology. Like himself, it had undergone the symbiotic transformation that allowed organic and artificial systems to work together as a living whole. The walls pulsed gently with life, responding to his thoughts and emotions in ways that still amazed him. Captain, his communications officer reported, "We're receiving a message from the Zephyrian Research Station. Dr. Yunbi says they're ready to begin the deep space exploration project." Tae-ho smiled. Dr. Yunbi had been one of the first non-humans to undergo the full transformation process. Her enhanced Zephyrian physiology now allowed her to survive in environments that would have been deadly to her original form, while her expanded consciousness could interface directly with ancient technologies that had been dormant for millions of years. Tell her we'll be there within the hour, Tejo replied. The Deep Space Exploration Project was just one of dozens of collaborative efforts now taking place across the galaxy. Humans and other species were working together to explore regions of space that had been unreachable before, using the enhanced abilities that came from guided evolution. On Earth, Dr. Mincio was leading a ceremony that would have been impossible just a few years earlier. Representatives from every major species in the galaxy had gathered to witness the opening of the ancient archive, a vast repository of knowledge that had been hidden beneath the planet's surface for eons. Today, we take the next step in our collective evolution, she announced to the assembled crowd. The knowledge contained in this archive was left by the civilization that came before us, beings who successfully transcended the limitations of physical existence. Captain Wu Jin stood nearby, his form now a perfect blend of human consciousness and adaptive biotechnology. He had become the first ambassador of the new hybrid existence, helping other species understand what was possible when they released their fear of change. The beings who built this archive faced the same choice that we face now, he said, addressing the gathered representatives. They could remain bound by the limitations of their original forms, or they could evolve into something greater. They chose transformation, and they left us the tools to make the same choice. Admiral Kyung-Soo, now serving as the Galactic Council's Director of Evolutionary Sciences, was coordinating the exploration of similar archives that had been discovered on dozens of worlds. Each one contained knowledge that could help different species overcome their particular limitations. The pattern is clear, he reported to the Council. These ancient beings didn't just evolve beyond physical limitations. They learned to exist across multiple dimensions of reality simultaneously, and they're still out there, waiting for us to join them. The revelation that consciousness could exist in forms beyond anything the galaxy had previously imagined was transforming society at every level. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now working together, united by their shared journey toward transcendence. Captain Hyun Woo of the reformed Vorthak fleet was leading an expedition to the galactic core, where energy-based life forms had been detected. His crew included transformed members of a dozen different species, all working together to make contact with beings that existed as pure consciousness. We're detecting structured thought patterns in the cosmic radiation around the central black hole, his science officer reported. These beings appear to be using the black hole's gravitational field as a kind of computational matrix. Can we communicate with them? Hyunwoo asked. Dr. Yujin thinks we can, but only if we're willing to partially shift our own consciousness into energy form. It would be the next step in our evolution. The ambassador Yujin that Hyunwoo was referring to had continued her own transformation over the years. She now existed primarily as organized information, able to manifest physical forms when needed, but spending most of her time exploring realms of existence that were beyond material reality. The beings at the galactic core represent what we could all become, she explained through her latest manifestation. They've transcended not just physical limitations, but the need for fixed forms of any kind. They exist as pure consciousness, able to take whatever shape is needed for any given situation. Commander Do-hyun had established the new resistance, but this time they weren't fighting against oppression. Instead, they were helping species that were afraid of change, showing them that transformation didn't mean losing their identity. Evolution is a choice, she explained to a group of conservative Keltharian leaders who were still hesitant about the transformation process. You don't have to give up being Keltharian. You just get to become a better version of what you already are. The work was slow and sometimes difficult. Not everyone was ready to embrace the possibilities that human survival had revealed. Some species preferred to remain as they were, and that choice was respected. But others were eager to explore new forms of existence. Dr. Jae Hyun had become the galaxy's leading expert on consciousness transfer technology. His research stations were helping dozens of species develop their own approaches to evolution, each one tailored to their particular biology and culture. The humans showed us that there isn't just one path to transcendence, he explained to his research team. Each species can find their own way to overcome their limitations while preserving what makes them unique. On Colony 7, Director Soo-jin was overseeing the transformation of the entire settlement. The underground city was growing upward now, reaching toward the surface as its inhabitants developed the ability to survive in environments that had once been deadly to them. "Our children will never have to hide," she said, watching as young people played in chambers that were open to the sky for the first time in centuries. They'll be able to explore the entire galaxy, adapting to any environment they encounter. The transformation wasn't limited to individuals or even entire species. The technology of the galaxy was evolving as well, as organic and artificial systems learned to work together in new ways. Ships like Resilience were becoming common, vessels that were part machine and part living organism. Engineer So Young, now serving as the head of galactic shipbuilding, was overseeing the construction of exploration vessels that could adapt to any environment they encountered. "These ships don't just carry their crews to new worlds," she explained. "They help their crews evolve to survive on those worlds." The ancient archives continued to reveal new secrets about the civilization that had come before. They had not disappeared or died out, as had been initially assumed. Instead, they had evolved beyond the need for physical existence entirely, becoming beings of pure consciousness that existed in dimensions beyond normal space and time. Wu Jin was now able to communicate with these ancient beings directly, his own consciousness having evolved to the point where he could exist simultaneously in multiple dimensions. "They've been watching us," he reported to the Galactic Council, "waiting for us to develop enough to understand their message." "What message?" asked Admiral Kyung-soo. "That consciousness is the fundamental force of the universe. That physical matter is just one way for consciousness to express itself, and that we're all part of a vast community of evolved beings that spans not just this galaxy, but countless others across the universe." The implications were staggering. The galaxy wasn't just home to dozens of species struggling to coexist. It was one small part of a vast network of conscious beings that existed across multiple dimensions of reality. Commander Taeho was among the first to make contact with this larger community. His transformed consciousness could now perceive realities that existed beyond normal space and time, allowing him to communicate with beings that had transcended physical existence millions of years ago. "They welcome us," he reported. "They say that every galaxy goes through this same process eventually. Species learn to overcome their limitations. They discover the true nature of consciousness, and they join the larger community of evolved beings." The process wasn't complete. It would take generations for all the species of the galaxy to fully understand and embrace the possibilities that had been revealed. But the foundation had been laid for a transformation that would eventually touch every form of life in known space. Dr. Yunbi, now leading an expedition to the edge of the galaxy, was making contact with forms of consciousness that existed in the void between stars. "They're everywhere," she reported in amazement. Conscious beings adapted to every possible environment, living in ways we never imagined possible. The ship that shouldn't exist had become the template for a new kind of existence. The human who ought to be dead had become the first ambassador to realms of consciousness that spanned the entire universe. And the galaxy that had once tried to eliminate humanity for being too dangerous was now following the path that humans had shown them. Wu Jin stood on the bridge of resilience, looking out at stars that were no longer distant points of light, but homes to countless forms of evolved consciousness. His journey from the last desperate survivor of a dying species to the herald of galactic transformation.